Now, if you're a regular breakfast viewer, you'll know that we spent a lot of time this year with the three dads, Tim, Andy and Mike, who became friends after losing their daughters to suicide.
Yeah, they took on a 300-mile walk, you may remember, to raise awareness of the issue. And Alison Freeman was there when they reunited for the first time since that mammoth challenge.
If we look round the corner, here they come.
Because we'd spent the previous 15 days walking, we really had no idea what we were going to walk into. But then to walk around the corner to find hundreds of people waiting for us in that kind of finishing shoot was just stunning. So odd, just really surreal.
You start picking up faces of people you recognise and start thinking about why you're there, why they're there, and yeah, it's an incredibly powerful experience.
Evie, my 10-year-old at the time, she came and kind of accompanied us across the line at the end, you know, she tucked her arm in my arm, and I got a photograph with Emily and the poles. And to have her, you know, wanting to be part of the story was lovely, because that wouldn't have been, she wouldn't have done that 5-6 months ago. It was just a variety of people that all wanted to kind of be there to support us and start those conversations with their kids as well.
Tim, Andy and Mike, three dads walking. They didn't even know each other at the start of 2021, but by the middle of October, they'd raised almost £1 million for a suicide prevention charity and got everyone talking about that often taboo subject. They'd been brought together by unthinkable tragedy. Each had a daughter who'd taken their own life. It was back in September they told us their stories of loss, the motivation behind the challenge they had planned, and how they hoped it would stop others going through the same thing.
Devastation's too small a word. You know, you literally are plunged into a surreal world of complex grief.
We've got our issues, we've got our faults, but I'd rather this way than living a day.
Mike's daughter Beth, an aspiring musician, was just 17 when she took her own life as lockdown loomed in March of last year. Andy lost his 29-year-old daughter Sophie, who was a nurse, just before Christmas 2018.
The world suddenly fell apart around us. There was suddenly nothing to hold on to. Nothing felt real. Just a sickness in the pit of your stomach.
And Tim's daughter Emily, a talented artist, was 19 when she died at the family home, also in March of 2020.
And you just feel as if you're in free fall and you don't know where you're going. Just devastating, absolutely devastating. And you just don't know how you'll ever recover from it.
The three daughters inspired their dads to walk 300 miles between their three homes. Their route was to take them from Andy's home in Moorland in Cumbria to Mike's in Sale in Greater Manchester, and finally to Tim's village of Sholdham in Norfolk. Their epic challenge began on October the 9th. Crowd are here to say goodbye. And there they go, Andy, Mike and Tim walking 300 miles over the next 15 days to raise money and awareness about suicide prevention. Good luck to them. It was clear from the start that their story had struck a chord with so many. Every day, people with their own stories of tragedy turned up to join them on the route. These stories are still fresh in their minds when we meet later to reflect on what happened. Unfortunately, Mike couldn't join us in person at the time we were filming. So Mike, you can't be with us. What's happened?
Looks as though I've got COVID. Slight cough and a slight sniff.
How are you feeling?
Gutted I can't be there, but Andy and Tim are doing a sterling job.
Mike, we know you met loads and loads of different people while you were on the walk. You know, we've seen and heard from some of them. Is there anyone who stands out in your mind particularly?
Be a mum that I met beside the road who'd not long lost her daughter, and she gave me her order of service to carry with me. I think that that set the tone for the walk. Just seeing her and feeling her pain.
Were you surprised by that openness, Mike?
In some ways, yes, but we didn't realise how many people our walk would affect. But I think our openness encouraged other people to talk, and I think it helped them.
This chap got out of the car and joined us, and he was a Lancashire farmer. He'd lost his daughter 4 weeks before, and he decided to come along to talk to us to find out how we got from where we were then, after losing our daughters, to where we were now.
I've recently lost my daughter to suicide, and I just need to understand why, and there's loads of unanswered questions.
It really was a privilege to allow people to be so open with us, because you could see how much it was helping them. I know it wasn't going to bring back their loved ones, but just that sense of relieving themselves of a lot of pain.
We were just like a magnet. I thought we might get one or two people, and I thought we'd get people we know, oh, you're off track, which I got quite a lot, especially off my dad. You're off track again. But I had no idea that we would be attracting people from the moment we set off to the very end, really, all the way along, and it was hundreds. It was literally hundreds of people as we counted them up as we went down.
We were engaged in conversation from 8 o'clock in the morning till whenever we went to bed at night.
The aim of the walk had been to get people talking about suicide, and it became apparent that they had. And on top of that, as media interest in the dad's story gathered momentum, so did the number of donations to a suicide prevention charity.
3 fathers who all lost their daughters to suicide are nearing the end of a 300-mile walk to raise money for charity in memory of their children.
Their story was even catching the eye of Hollywood stars like Daniel Craig, who was the first to donate £10,000. And after meeting the dads, former Manchester United player Lou Macari, who lost his own son to suicide, decided he couldn't be beaten by 007.
I don't want to see James Bond out doing it. Macari Foundation will give you 10,000 as well. I haven't got it on me.
Nicole Kidman was the next star to give £10,000, saying in a statement that she had been profoundly moved by the dad's extraordinary undertaking and dedicated her donation to the 3 daughters.
That was just incredible. You know, Nicole Kidman putting a tribute out to our 3 daughters. You what? Oh, yeah, incredible.
And following us on Instagram.
Yeah.
There's a thing.
Wonderfully generous of these stars, but it helped us. It raised our profile.
Did you ever expect, Mike, that amount of money? Because I know you started off with, what was it, £3,000 each or something?
No, never. We were walking for a reason, but we didn't realise how big it was all going to get.
And neither did the charity they were raising money for, Papyrus, based in Warrington.
Guys, this is, you may have recognised.
Hiya, how you doing?
Andy and Tim were given the chance to meet some of the people who answer the calls at the charity's helpline, which is called Hopeline UK.
You're Ray?
Yeah.
Sophie.
Sophie.
Kelly.
Tim. Andy.
Well, we know.
Oh, but it's absolutely incredible to meet you, because we've all been following your journey and your story for so long, and to see you, I kept saying to like the comms team, I was like, when are you coming, please let us know. I'm dying to meet them.
We're 2 old men.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, it's lovely to meet you guys.
been
No,
incredible.
it's lovely. Yeah, it's lovely to meet you guys. You're the sharp end. We're just the fat blokes walking, aren't we? So, yeah.
Ray, Sophie and Kelly had been following the dad's walk closely and were keen to talk about the influence they'd had on callers.
The fact that you, just by doing what you've been doing, raising that awareness, sharing your story, so many more people have had those conversations, you know, about how to have a conversation, a safe conversation about suicide. You know, the impact genuinely that you have has been unbelievable.
We're still taking calls this
Yeah.
week where you guys are mentioned like the celebrities that you are.
Yeah.
And we know as well that you know more dads have been ringing out with concerns for their own children and for you guys to turn that tragedy into hope for the people is absolutely wonderful and completely immeasurable, isn't it?
Yeah. We're getting more and more people calling ourselves. We've had our busiest ever month in the history of Papyrus and Hopeline UK. So that in itself is just amazing, and the three dads have definitely played their part in that.
Are you at the post?
Papyrus has been by the side of the three dads throughout their challenge. The charity's boss, one of the first to congratulate them at the finishing line.
You are lifesavers. We can't do our work without people like you. It's the ordinariness becoming extraordinary. That was the line that I think three ordinary dads, as they call themselves. There's nothing ordinary about them, really. They've done something incredible, haven't they? That powerful message of this has happened, suicide is real, young people do die, and my child has died, just cuts through the mustard, really. And you'll have heard from our team the number of people who've said they've referenced the three dads, they've referenced that ability that they've felt now to speak about their story, because the three dads have shared theirs, is incalculable.
You're a relatively small charity. They have raised far more than they ever expected. What does that mean in real terms to you?
It's a game changer for us. It accelerates our plan as we enter our 25-year anniversary year. There's lots that we'll be telling the world about. So with the dads' effect being felt in more ways than they'd ever hoped for, their minds are now turning to the future. It was your idea. You had the map with the lines drawn on it. Is there any Mike-shaped ideas that are about to pop up?
Oh, this is an interesting question.
Nothing has properly formed, but I have a little idea maybe that could take in London and maybe taking the message to Downing Street, maybe.
Are you glad you did it? Looking back now.
What we actually achieved was way beyond our expectations and imagination. We set off from a horrible place, and none of us chose to be here. But now we're in it, we can make the most of it. And actually, we managed to have quite a lot of fun whilst doing it. I'd rather not know them. I'd rather that we weren't here. But now we are. Well, let's see what we can do next.
When your daughter decides they don't want to be with you any longer, it's their decision to make, and that is absolutely crushing. We felt as though we had to pull something positive out of the ashes, basically. We've raised the awareness. We need to do something with that awareness, something positive. We've written to the government to try and get suicide prevention incorporated into the PSHE syllabus. So we're working with the charity on that. So that would have more of a legacy than us doing another 300-mile walk. So that's the sort of stuff we need to concentrate on, so that all of our children across the country have that basic foundation in suicide prevention. Because if you're taught about suicide prevention when you're 11, 12, 13, that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. So that will have a knock-on effect to reducing adult suicide figures, I'm sure.
The dads and Papyrus want people to realise it's okay to ask someone if they're thinking about suicide. Do you wish that you had been able or known that was something you needed to ask?
Oh, I look back and I know that Beth gave out some signs in language and behaviour, and I believe if I'd had more knowledge, I'd understood more. If I'd asked her those questions, she could well be here now.
And thank you to the three dads, to Tim, Andy and Mike, for talking to us, and we wish you all the very best for the new year.
Yeah, what an incredible trio.